Take a slow breath. Just stop for a second before you keep scrolling. Because if you found this today, it was not random, it was not just chance, and it was not some accident in the algorithm. Something inside you was searching, and somehow this message found its way back to you. So stay with me for a moment, really stay. I want you to think about this person right now. Let their face come into your mind and notice what happens inside you when it does. That pull in your chest, that wave of warmth, longing, and something deeper you cannot fully explain, that is not confusion. That is your heart sensing something your mind is still trying to understand. Because this person is not just someone who walked into your life for no reason. On some quiet level, something deeper in you already knows them. And I know how tiring it is to carry a love this strong while everything around it feels unclear. All those nights you stayed awake holding these feelings in silence, asking yourself if you were imagining it, wondering if any of this really matters. It matters. You are not foolish. You are not too emotional. You are not asking for too much. You are standing in the middle of something that may end up meaning everything. And that is exactly why it feels so heavy. Stay with me here, because this part is important. The connections that truly change us do not only touch the surface, they reach into the hidden places, the parts of us we tried to control, hide, protect, or survive through. And when that happens, life does not always feel peaceful at first. Sometimes it feels like the shaking before the healing. Sometimes it feels like everything inside you is being rearranged before it finally makes sense. People often believe love is supposed to arrive like comfort, like calm water after a long storm. But the kind of connection that truly changes your life usually arrives like a storm before it becomes peace. It shakes loose everything buried under survival habits, emotional walls, pride, fear, and old pain. At first, that shaking can feel more like damage than growth. Because when someone reaches a part of you that nobody else could touch, the old ways you used to protect yourself suddenly stop working. The person who spent years overgiving starts seeing how tired they are from always proving their worth. They begin to notice how often they left themselves behind just to keep love from leaving. They start asking why they believed closeness had to be earned through sacrifice, endless patience, emotional labor, or always understanding more than they were understood. And that truth hurts. It hurts because it forces them to face the idea that somewhere along the way they learned being loved just for being who they are was not enough. And at the same time, the other person may be facing a fear just as deep. They may see that they have spent years surviving by staying guarded, distant, or hard to fully reach, not because they do not care, but because closeness once became linked to pain, rejection, betrayal, disappointment, or loss. So when something real stands in front of them, their nervous system reads intimacy as danger. Every deep feeling brings panic with it. Every vulnerable moment feels like standing too close to the edge of something they cannot control. They pull back not because the connection means nothing, but because it means too much. And for someone used to self-protection, that intensity can feel impossible to hold. Don't skip this part. What looks like mixed signals on the outside is often two scared hearts reacting to the same fear in different ways. That is why these dynamics become so painful and so confusing. On the surface, it can look like one person loves more, while the other keeps stepping back. One reaches, the other retreats. One tries to hold everything together, while the other seems overwhelmed, unsure, or distant. But underneath that movement is usually something much deeper than simple incompatibility. It is often two wounded systems reacting in opposite ways to the exact same fear. The fear of being hurt, the fear of being left, the fear of being rejected, consumed, not enough, or too much. The person who chases closeness usually believes love will disappear unless they work constantly to keep it alive. So silence feels unbearable, distance feels threatening, uncertainty feels like emotional hunger. They try harder, explain more, give more, wait longer, hoping that eventually the other person will feel safe enough to stay present. But what they slowly have to learn is that love cannot grow where self-abandonment becomes the cost of connection. They have to discover that their value is not measured by how much pain they can survive for someone else. And the person who withdraws often carries the opposite wound. Somewhere deep inside, they believe that if someone gets too close, they will lose themselves, disappoint the other person, or become trapped in something they cannot manage. So they make space the moment things start to feel real. Yet that distance rarely gives them peace. It usually gives them guilt, confusion, loneliness, and an even deeper awareness of how much they actually care. because avoiding vulnerability may protect them from rejection for a little while, but it also blocks them from receiving the love they quietly long for. Growth is not always pretty in the beginning. Sometimes it looks like confusion. Sometimes it looks like silence, inconsistency, fear, and emotional overload. But messy does not mean meaningless. It often means something real is trying to change form. Think about the caterpillar. It does not simply grow wings and fly. It dissolves first. It breaks down inside the cocoon before it becomes something new. Transformation has always asked for a kind of ending before it gives you a beginning. Not a physical ending, but the death of old identities, old defenses, and old beliefs that cannot survive inside a deeper kind of love. That is why these connections can feel almost unbearable at times. They show us our contradictions. They reveal how deeply we want intimacy, while also exposing how afraid we are of it. They force us to learn the difference between attachment and real love. Attachment says, "Please do not leave me because I need you to fill what feels empty in me." Real love slowly learns to say, "I want to meet you fully while also learning how to stay whole inside myself." And that shift changes everything. This is the turning point most people miss. Listen closely. It usually does not arrive through a dramatic talk, a confession, or the exact message you have been waiting to hear. It does not happen because they suddenly say all the perfect words. It begins with a choice you make quietly within yourself. A simple but powerful choice. You stop waiting to be chosen, and you start choosing yourself. That is where the energy changes. Not because life works like a trick, but because the energy you bring into any connection can be felt. When you stop reaching towards someone from fear, need, or emotional starvation, you stop becoming something they feel pressure to back away from. And for maybe the first time, they are left alone with what they truly feel. Not only what they fear, not only what they avoid, what is actually there, and what is there has not vanished. Trust that. Stay to the end, because the part that comes next may be the piece you needed most. Let me tell you something honestly, and I need you to really let it land instead of just hearing it and moving on. Everything you have gone through in this waiting has meant something. Every part of it. Not 1 second was wasted. I know sometimes it feels that way. I know there are moments when you look back at all the love you gave and wonder if it simply disappeared into empty space, if it reached anyone, if it changed anything, if it was worth it at all. But love does not just vanish. It does not go nowhere. Every quiet night you spent thinking about someone who was not beside you. Every evening you fell asleep with feelings that had nowhere to go yet. That love was real, and it was doing something even when you could not see it. It was shaping you, it was deepening you, it was turning you into someone able to hold something extraordinary when it finally arrives in full. And every time you cried because you could not understand why something that felt so deeply right was also bringing you so much pain, that was not weakness. Hear that clearly. Those tears did not mean you were too sensitive or too invested or too fragile. Those tears were your heart refusing to walk away from something it recognized as sacred. That is not weakness. That is a kind of faithfulness many people never touch. Most people, when things become this hard and this uncertain, find a reason to leave before the pain goes deeper. They protect themselves by deciding it is not worth it. And yes, that is human. There is nothing shameful about it. But you did not do that. You stayed open. You kept feeling. You kept caring. You kept holding space inside yourself for something that the outer world kept giving you reasons to doubt. That matters more than you know. It says something about who you are, and maybe that is exactly what this season has been trying to show you. Think about how easy it would have been to shut down, to decide that loving this deeply was a burden, to tell yourself it cost too much and gave back too little, to build a wall and stop letting anything reach you at all. You could have done that. Many people do. They get hurt enough, confused enough, left waiting long enough, and eventually something inside them grows quiet. They stop being available for this kind of love because they decide, consciously or not, that the price is just too high. And you would have had every reason to make that same choice. Nobody could have blamed you, but you did not go that way. You stayed soft when becoming hard would have been easier. You stayed open when closing would have felt safer. And in a world that often rewards distance, detachment, and pretending nothing touches you too deeply, that choice is not small, it is huge, because the softness you keep seeing as your most vulnerable point may actually be your deepest strength. It is not the crack in your armor, it is your armor. The ability to love fully without always calculating what you are getting back is rare, very rare. And it is the only real base for a love that can actually last. Anyone can connect when things are simple. Anyone can be present when the path is easy and the feelings are clear. But to care through confusion, through silence, through long stretches where nothing is certain, and to do it without turning bitter, that takes something real, something you cannot fake, something nobody can teach from the outside. You either carry that capacity or you do not, and you do. That may be one of the most important truths about you. And that truth is not leading you toward a connection where you stay forever off balance, always overthinking, always decoding, always bracing for the next moment of confusion. No, it is leading you towards something that fits, something that does not ask you to shrink, dim down, or keep your heart on hold just to feel safe. You are moving toward a love that feels like finally taking a full breath after holding tension in your chest for too long. And that is not just a pretty idea. It is where this goes if you do what comes next. So what does that look like in real life? What do you do with all of this today, tomorrow, and in the days after? Here is the hardest part, and I will not soften it to make it easier to hear. You turn toward yourself on purpose. You do it clearly, honestly, and with intention, not as a way to fake moving on, not to punish them, not to make them notice, not to play some quiet game. You do it for real. You take the energy you have been pouring outward and you bring it back home. You start asking yourself a question you may not have asked in a very long time. What do I need right now? Not what do they need? Not what can I say or become that might finally change this? Not what will make them come back, open up, or understand. What do you need? What would actually feel good in your life today? What part of your world have you ignored while focusing so hard on something that always felt just out of reach? You begin filling those spaces again. You begin saying yes to yourself with at least some of the devotion you have been giving away so freely. The things you delayed because you were waiting for life to feel settled first, begin some of them now. The friendships that drifted because your emotional energy was tied up elsewhere. Reach back toward those people. The pieces of yourself you placed on a shelf while this connection took over your inner world. Pick them up again, dust them off, bring them back into your life. This does not mean pretending the love is gone. It does not mean forcing yourself not to feel what you feel. It means expanding your life again so it is not trapped inside one person and one possible outcome. And when you really start doing that, something changes in the way you move through the world. It may not be dramatic. It may not happen overnight, but it is real. You stop feeling like an unfinished sentence waiting for someone else to complete it. You stop living like your whole life is paused until this story finally resolves. You begin to feel like a full person again. Someone with color, direction, weight, and movement, whether any one relationship is clear or not, and that grounded feeling changes your presence. People feel it, even when they cannot explain it. There is a certain quiet power in someone who is truly at home in themselves. It is magnetic in the truest sense. It draws instead of chases, and the person you have been loving through all of this will feel that change too, maybe more than anyone. This is not a trick. It is not a strategy to get a result. I want that to be very clear. This is simply what happens when someone stops relating from emptiness and begins relating from fullness. The whole connection starts breathing differently. There is finally room for something honest to happen, room that did not exist before. And I also want to say something about them, because maybe you need permission to see this with softer eyes. They are not the villain in this story. I know there were moments when the hurt made it easy to paint them that way. The silence, the distance, the inconsistency. All of it can make you want a simple story where one person is clearly wrong, but they are not heartless, they are not untouched. What looks like distance is often something more complex. Usually it is someone who learned long ago that love is dangerous, that closeness costs too much, that opening up brings pain they do not know how to survive. They did not choose that lesson on purpose. It was built into them by earlier experiences, long before you ever arrived. So what you have been reading as coldness may actually be someone trying to manage a fear that has lived in them for years. They think about you in the quiet moments, in the spaces between distractions, in the stillness where they can no longer avoid what is happening inside. You are there. They feel the absence of your energy even in the moments when they are the one who created that absence. There is a tension inside them around you that does not disappear just because they step back. Because what they feel is not only about contact, it is about something much deeper they have not fully worked through yet. And that unfinished work is not yours to carry for them. You cannot do it for them, no matter how much you love them, No matter how clearly you see what they need, no matter how willing you are to hold their pain, that path is theirs. The one powerful thing you can do is refuse to let their fear become a story about your worth. Refuse to absorb their unresolved pain as proof that something is missing in you. Hold yourself with such deep respect and steady love that if they do move through what has kept them frozen, what they meet is not a version of you weakened by waiting, not someone drained by longing, not someone starving for validation. What they meet is you in your fullness, whole, bright, rooted, ready. Close your eyes for just a second and picture a morning that may be closer than you think. You wake up and the first thing you notice is that the heaviness is gone. That familiar weight in your chest, the one you got so used to carrying you nearly forgot it was there, is no longer sitting on you. Not because your feelings died, not because you stopped caring, not because you forced yourself into distance. It is gone because the love finally has a place to land, because what was unfinished has become whole, because what was meant to happen is no longer waiting in the future, it is here. Imagine turning toward this person and really seeing their face, and for the first time, or the first time in a long time, you do not see hesitation, you do not see the inner conflict, the pulling back, the invisible wall behind their eyes. You see peace, a quiet, settled peace, the kind that comes from someone who has finally made a full choice and is no longer fighting themselves while standing in front of you. Imagine what it feels like to be in a love that no longer visits your thoughts at 2 a.m. as anxiety. A love where you do not lie awake replaying every detail, searching for what you missed, what you should have said, what signal might come next. A love where your nervous system can finally rest, where you are not constantly scanning for distance, bracing for disappointment, or trying to survive uncertainty. A love where the question of whether you are enough is simply gone, not because you managed to convince someone of your value, but because you are with someone for whom your value was never up for debate. Someone who sees the whole of you, the beautiful parts, the messy parts, the strong parts, the still healing parts, and chooses all of it, not despite it, because of it. And that is not just a fantasy built to comfort you. It is the natural endpoint when two people take their healing seriously, when they stop showing up at each other's door, asking the other to repair every old wound life left behind, when they do enough of their own work to become available for something real. That is what may be taking shape right now beneath the confusion, the distance, and the waiting of this season. Every day you choose care over panic. Every day you choose to steady yourself instead of collapsing into fear. Every day you trust what you cannot fully see yet. You are building the ground this kind of love can actually stand on. If this is speaking to you, stay with it. The middle often lies to us, but it is still just the middle. Do not let the difficulty of this season convince you that the ending is not real. The middle of every transformation is the hardest part. It is the part where nothing is clear, where everything feels unfinished, and where doubt gets louder than truth. It is the part where you can no longer be who you used to be, but you are not yet fully standing in what comes next. That space is uncomfortable, it is confusing, it can make you question everything, but it is temporary. The middle always is. What is ahead of it does not have to be. And I want to leave this with you carefully, because I mean every word. You are not behind. You are not broken in some special way that makes love harder for you than it is for everyone else. You are not a person who keeps missing what everybody else seems to find so easily. You are in the center of a becoming, a real one, a quiet transformation that is reaching into far more of your life than you may realize right now. This story is not ending. It may not even be close to its most meaningful chapter. Those deeper chapters are being written in the moments that look ordinary from the outside but are changing you from within. Every moment you choose healing instead of fear. Every moment you offer yourself a little of the care you have so freely given others. Every moment you look at your own life and decide, even softly, that you deserve the same love you have been so generous with. Keep going, not because it has been easy, it has not. Not because everything is clear, it is not yet. Keep going because what is truly yours is not lost. It is not gone. It is not being kept from you forever by fear, silence, or timing. What belongs with you is already moving in your direction, even now. And there is nothing fear can do. No delay, no distance, no season of confusion that can cancel what is already making its way toward you. So for now, breathe, come back to yourself. Let today be simpler than the story in your head has been making it. Eat the meal, answer the message from the friend you care about. Go outside for a little while. Return to the parts of your life that still need your presence. Pick up the dream you put down. Do the small thing you kept delaying. Rest without guilt. Smile without waiting for permission. Let your life become wide again. Because the more you return to yourself, the less power uncertainty has over you. And the less power uncertainty has over you, the more clearly love can show itself for what it truly is. Not panic, not obsession, not constant proving. Real love does not ask you to disappear in order to keep it alive. Real love expands when two whole people meet it with honesty. So if you have been exhausted from trying to hold this together all by yourself, let this be the moment you put some of that weight down. Let this be the moment you stop measuring your worth by someone else's readiness. Let this be the moment you remember that your heart was never the problem, your depth was never the problem, your softness was never the problem. Those are the very things that will one day make the right love feel unmistakable, calm, chosen, safe, alive. And until that becomes visible, your work is not to chase certainty. Your work is to become steady enough inside yourself that whatever is real can meet you there. That is how the story changes, quietly, deeply, from the inside out. And maybe that is what this message came to remind you of today. Not that you must wait harder, not that you must love louder, but that you must come home to yourself so completely that when life opens the right door, you are already standing there, whole enough to walk through it without fear.